Scuderia Ferrari is called to react in Formula One after the Montreal disaster in the Canadian Grand Prix 2 weeks ago. A double retirement for Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz due to technical problems suffered with the Monegasque driver's power unit at the 4.361-kilometer Circuit Gilles-Villeneuve in Montreal, and, in general, an SF-24 car that was essentially a poor copy of the one appreciated in the previous rounds of the 2024 Formula One Championship. The splendid victory of the prancing horse in the 24 Hours of Le Mans last Sunday thrilled the fans of the historic Italian team. Their colleagues from the Formula One team must recover after the Montreal debacle this weekend, which will be spent on a track historically unfavorable to the Reds, at least in the very recent past. We just have to consider that the last victory for Ferrari at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya dates back to 2013 and coincides with Fernando Alonso's last win in the top category of motorsport. The last round in North America confirmed that Max Verstappen is crucial in Red Bull's recent successes based on the constantly poor performance of his Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez. Meanwhile, McLaren can fight for victory but needs a clean weekend starting from the qualifying session and must avoid strategy errors, as was the case in Montreal. Finally, there was an important signal from Mercedes, which, however, needs to be confirmed in the upcoming races. The calendar now offers a triple header that should definitively indicate the season's momentum. Ferrari team principal Frédéric Vasseur explained that the current margins between the top teams are very tight, so a small mistake over the weekend can drop you from the first to the fourth position. This is why the new reality must be accepted as normal. The French team principal emphasized that Red Bull also struggled a lot in Monaco, although objectively the streets of the Principality are not a good benchmark for assessing a car's quality. The head of the Ferrari racing department stressed how decisive factors like updates, layout, and tire management are for the overall weekend result. Every single detail in this 2024 Formula One championship can really make a difference, according to the Ferrari team boss. The always cheerful Fred Vasseur has an idea he would like to implement. For the Frenchman, the ideal would be to optimize the weekend even on tracks that are unfavorable for some reason, as happened at the Circuit Gilles-Villeneuve in Canada. However, not succeeding does not mean that progress has not been made. Moreover, it is important to keep the concentration of all team members high because making a drama out of some inappropriate performances is no longer part of Ferrari's mentality. On the other hand, Charles Leclerc warns everyone, in Spain, it will be necessary to play a defensive game. The Montmello circuit seems tailor-made to highlight the characteristics of the RB20 single-seater, especially after the removal of the last chicane in the third sector, which had very high and difficult-to-interpret curbs. This dynamic could have been unfavorable for Red Bull, as it clearly showed that managing grip in such situations is not optimal for them. Although the Monegasque driver clarified that he is not speaking on behalf of the team, in his opinion, the Milton Keynes cars will be very strong this weekend in the Spanish Grand Prix at the Barcelona track. So strong that he predicts a gap similar to what Max Verstappen was able to inflict on the competition at the beginning of the 2024 Formula One season. This is all thanks to the Catalan layout, which is very favorable for the Austrian cars. According to Charles Leclerc, Red Bull's main competitor will undoubtedly be McLaren. The MCL-38 can fight with the Dutchman, according to the Ferrari driver. This low profile might be part of a new communication strategy, or it might not. The Monegasque driver is aware that there will be suffering in Barcelona, especially if it rains during the race as predicted by the main weather portals. For Carlos Sainz, this is the last Grand Prix with the Ferrari uniform in his homeland, an event clearly very meaningful to the public and the Spanish driver, who is aware that, at least in the short term, Sunday might be the last chance to stand on the podium in front of his people. The home race is always a special weekend for drivers in the motorsport world. This is also true for Carlos Sainz, who has often performed well in Barcelona, achieving some prestigious results in front of his fans. Regarding the Montreal blackout, Carlos Sainz fully supports Frédéric Vasseur's stance and doesn't make a big deal out of it. This is because in a Formula One weekend, everything can go wrong, and the best way to restart is to understand your mistakes, correct them, and keep morale high. Over the years, Formula One has become very familiar with the track, as it had long been the home of winter testing before the teams moved to Bahrain, where higher temperatures provide more useful data. Although the cars change annually, references from previous years serve as a good starting point for setting up the car. However, the calendar has changed over time, incorporating more fast street circuits that do not feature corners like those on the Catalan track. It used to be said that being fast in Barcelona meant being fast everywhere, but Formula One has evolved significantly, with many more tracks resembling Monaco or Canada and more street circuits with added bumps and curbs, as the Spaniard pointed out. There are now many tracks, such as Monaco, Singapore, Canada, Las Vegas, or Mexico, that are unlike Barcelona. Having a good car in Barcelona means it will likely be fast in Silverstone, Hungary, or Spa-Francorchamps. But a good car in Barcelona does not necessarily mean a good car in Baku. Carlos Sainz hopes that the updates Ferrari has brought forward for the Spanish Grand Prix, upon returning to Europe after the Canadian round, can provide the two SF-24 cars with a significant increase in downforce without overly penalizing the drag. The Spaniard knows well that there is no magic wand to overturn the values on the track overnight. And although Max Verstappen claims that it is easier to copy rivals under the current regulations, managing updates is not at all simple, especially considering the validation times. Ferrari has indeed managed to get its latest Formula One upgrades ready for the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend as it bids to bounce back from its Canada struggles. Even before the Maranello team's changes are formally confirmed in the FIA submission document ahead of opening free practice, the modifications to its side pods, Cobra winglets alongside the cockpit and rear wing, have stood out in visual terms. The push comes just a fortnight after Ferrari's hopes of hauling itself back into championship contention suffered a blow with a lackluster showing in Canada that ended in a double DNF. In terms of the alterations made to the side pods for Spain, it appears the team has done most of its work in reshaping the undercut and the beltline thereafter, with more space afforded between them and the upper surface of the floor. This will likely improve performance in its own right, but it also offers a platform for the team to build upon when a new floor that is in development arrives a few races from now. The Cobra winglets beside the cockpit have been optimized as part of the update too. These are now much taller than before, extending up around the rear leg of the halo's fairing, which will reposition the horizontal upper flap section and therefore adjust the course of the airflow and vortices that spill from it. Ferrari has also added a medium-high downforce rear wing into its pool at Barcelona, as it looks to find the right balance between the specifications already seen at Monaco and Imola. The main plane and upper flap design sit between the high downforce variant used in Monaco and the medium downforce one used at Imola. However, while it is clear that these elements support the right downforce level, there will also be an impact on the performance of the DRS when it is in operation. Furthermore, there's continued development when it comes to the shape of the main plane and end plate radius, which also aligns with the alterations that have been made to the tip section, the position of the outer flap support, and the end plate cutout.